Hi, this is the Mumby Diaries. I'm going to be doing a little video on mental health, mainly because it is just something that is so important to me. I make no secret of the fact that I have really struggled in the past with my mental health. I still do. I still take medication now for anxiety and depression. Um, I had issues as a teenager which I sought help for, and then after the birth of Maisie was when I had a really rough time with postnatal depression. Um, and for me, it was really hard because my whole life, the only thing I'd ever wanted to be was to be a mum. As sad as that might sound to some people, I had only ever wanted to be a mum, and I finally had my baby, and people had told me what a great mum I was going to be, and that I was going to be a natural. And then I sucked at breastfeeding. I hated it. I then got mastitis and sepsis, and I ended up in hospital on my own when my little baby was less than 2 weeks old, and she was at home with her daddy, who did an amazing job at caring for her. But then I came home and I couldn't seem to settle her. She hated me. I'd failed her for not breastfeeding her, and things really spiraled downwards from there. I lost so much time hating myself for messing up, for getting sick, for giving up breastfeeding, for just not being a good enough mum. And I was terrified to get help because I was supposed to be this natural mum, and if I went and got help, then I've failed. If I go to a doctor and tell them that I'm not coping, they're going to take my baby away. But they're not going to do that. Obviously, I know that now. And luckily, when I got to my lowest point, my husband intervened, and I thank God to this day that he did. And I got help. No one took my baby away from me. People just supported me, and that is so important. I got better, and then I fell pregnant with Luna, and I got hyperemesis gravidarum, and that really took a heavy hit on my mental health, which I will cover in a separate blog post. And then after Luna was born, when she was just 4 weeks old, we moved from Oxfordshire down to Kent. So we moved with a dog, a toddler, and a 4-week-old. It was a really stressful time. Our house had loads of issues. We had flooding on the day that we moved in, from the kitchen sink. And we've had issues since then. We've had other issues as well, which really set off another difficult point in my life, with depression and anxiety. And it was only this time around that I realised I'd created a stigma around myself. I was scared to take tablets because I shouldn't need tablets. I should just be able to snap out of it. But the brain is like any other organ in the body. It gets sick and you need help. And however that may be, there shouldn't be a stigma for it. If you get sick with your kidneys or your liver or your heart, you go to the doctor, you get medication, you maybe get surgery, and it's all fine. But if your brain gets sick, with your mental health, there's so much stigma, and I'm only now coming to realise that there shouldn't be a stigma. I don't know why there is one. I'm only now happily taking my medication and accepting that, hopefully it won't be forever. It will be for a year or however long. But it's there to get me better so that I can be better in myself. I don't have the fears this time around of what kind of mum I am, because the silver lining for me, ironically, out of all of this with mental health, is it's taught me how important it is to talk to my daughters about how they feel with their emotions, that if they're sad, that's okay. They don't need to hide it. We can talk about it. We can have a hug. I would rather that any day than them to feel that they can't talk to me or they can't reach out to a loved one when they are at a low point in the future. And that was the hardest thing for me, with my mental health since the girls have been born, When I got to my very lowest, I convinced myself that if I wasn't around, they were young enough that they wouldn't remember me. John and I, John would move on. He would remarry. He would marry someone he deserved, someone who was normal, who could raise our children properly, and they would have the better chance at life of not having the crazy mum around. But that's not true. No one could love or raise our girls like I do. Um, Maybe if he married another woman who didn't have mental health problems, they wouldn't realise how important it was to talk about feelings. And, you know, there's that whole nature nurture thing as well with mental health. There's a chance that my girls will turn out like me and have some problems with mental illness. And I would rather that they know that there is a support network around them if that happens. They may be like their daddy and be healthy mentally. And if they are, how bloody fantastic is that? Because not only are they healthy mentally, they know how to support those around them that aren't. My husband is amazing. He hasn't suffered with his mental health, but yet he has never judged me for how I feel, and I can talk to him about how I feel, and we're very open and honest, and that is so important. Moving back down to Kent was important for me because after I had Maisie, I felt so isolated, and now my parents are down the road. So if I'm having one of those days when the kids are just driving me mad, John's being a bit of an arse, I can go to my mum and dad's and have a hug or a cup of tea, and it's fantastic. My best friend is the other side of town. She's not several hours away. So, okay, we don't get to see each other that often, but just living closer nearby, we message more. I can tell her what's going on in my life. She'll tell me what's going on in hers, and we can be completely honest. And that's kind of the whole thing with my blog as well, why I want to be honest about the ups and downs of parenthood. There's a lot of funny sides to it, and you have to laugh at a lot of it. But there's downsides, and there's times when it's not okay, and that it's okay not to be okay. For me, especially the first time around as a first time parent, I saw all these people on social media with their babies that were, you know, getting out and about on their own when their babies were a few days old, and they were breastfeeding like pros and having the bestest of times, and that wasn't what I was going through, and I felt like it was obviously me doing something wrong and I wasn't cut out to be a mum. I know now that's not true. And that's kind of the other thing with my blog and social media. I kind of want to break that trend that social media, as wonderful as it is, and I bloody love it, it doesn't always show the whole picture, and that's what you need to keep in mind a lot of the time. So that's kind of my little rant on it, and it's kind of my plea, like I say, about breaking the stigma. If you haven't had issues, then that is fantastic and it's great. But please don't be that asshole that thinks that just because someone's got a mental illness, they need to snap out of it. If I could snap out of how I have felt, I would give anything, and I would give anything for my kids not to ever feel how I have felt. If you are going through a low point, then reach out to your loved ones. They really do care. Please don't leave it until it's too late. I know at this time of year, and that's partly why I'm doing this post now, is when more people commit suicide than any other time. Whether it's because you're alone, maybe it's your first Christmas alone, maybe it's your first Christmas without a loved one, maybe it's the finance side. Christmas is a bastard financially. It causes so many arguments between John and I. But you're not alone. Reach out to your loved ones, reach out to your parents, to your other half, to your siblings, to your best friends. Reach out to your medical professionals. They're not going to lock you away. They're not going to take your children away unless you are a danger to them, which a lot of the time people aren't. They just need that help. Take the drugs if they give them to you, provided they're the right thing. Don't be afraid to question it. It took me a while to find something that was right for me. But also look at other alternatives. Look at counselling if that is something that you think would work for you. Be open and honest. It's not something for everyone. I quite like mindfulness. And I have had counselling. I would love to have counselling again, especially to help me through my phobia of vomit, which is on my bucket list of mental health issues to get sorted. Isn't that lovely? I've got a little tick list. But please reach out. Don't leave it until it's too late. And if you are going through a good phase, just hold your loved ones tighter. You never know what's going through someone else's head. And if they have given you that insight, please don't let that loved one go. Give them an extra hug. Talk to them. Let them know that they're there. And be genuine. For God's sake, be genuine. Yeah, that is my little ramble. And if all else fails, if you can't call Samaritans, if you can't speak to your loved ones, message me. I will talk to anyone about anything. That's why I'm talking about my struggles, because I don't want anyone to do anything until it's too late. I am really lucky that I've had interventions in the past. And I hope that I never ever feel that way again. I hope my children never feel that way again. I hope my husband never feels that way again. But you don't know when an illness is going to strike, whether that is of the body or the mind. Break the stigma, speak out, and don't be an asshole about it. So that's my little rant.